I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV. I'm here at the CCA convention in Las Vegas for 2013. I am speaking with Mr. Brian Darr from Mosaik. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, Tony. Thanks for having me again.
I almost said American Roamer because I'm just so used to it. You guys have been around for so long.
You know, the Mosaik Solutions name's been around for about a year and a half now, but we've been in this industry so long that we still get that a lot. We have people walk up to, oh, you're the American Roamer guys, yeah.
So let's talk about some of that longevity because it bodes well for the footprint that you've created within the ecosystem.
We have, but the company has certainly changed with the times several times. You know, we used to make our revenue primarily off of printing information about the industry, whether that was maps or tables of places you could go and use your phone. And now we have, you know, over the last several years, we've morphed yet again, and we've become much more of a software type of company that also has a very deep intelligence database on where the networks are, who owns them, and what they've deployed.
So it takes a long time to create that type of data.
Yes, it does. It does, and we've got a great team of people that just keep up with it constantly.
So let's talk about some of those challenges that have existed that made you into who you are today.
Well, take a look at, in the beginning, there were two operators in each market, all right? And so as that has grown and you've had more and more spectrum become available, and other players have gotten in, there's been waves of consolidation, you know, and then you'll have new auctions and new players come in. You know, we're certainly going to see some of that moving forward, and so there's always a flux in the number of clients to be had by any of the vendors in the space. But we've managed to continue to expand the offerings that we have and have grown the business with our existing customers as well as continued to offer to new people within the space. As M2M has come along, telematics has come along, this has become a very important part of our client base. In the beginning it was only operators, and now it's much more diverse. A lot of regulatory work that we do. So it takes a lot of people to keep all this up, though, and as our business has been growing, we've done really well over the past few years. We've added about 25% to our staff in the last year and a half or so.
It's a lot of data, as I said. You know, and you brought up a really great topic here about, you know, at one point in time there were, you know, only two operators within a market space, but now not just looking at tier 1, 2, and 3 carriers. We're talking the cable providers, we're talking the MVNO market, the small cell arena on its own, or the femto market. I shouldn't call it femto market anymore, I should continue to call it small cell, but you know, there's so many ways to on and offload data, and there's so many different business models now. There's just a lot of analytics from a topology standpoint that need to be you know, looked at.
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts to all of this. You're exactly right. And so certainly many of the MVNOs come to us as well for this intelligence and for solutions so that they can market their services, present the clients not only with an expectation of where the service is going to work or what level of service they're going to experience there, but they also need it internally for customer support, tech support, right? There's certainly challenges as we're seeing the small cells come along, and Wi-Fi is an area that we've spent a lot of time on here recently as well. So you mentioned the cable guys. These guys have had some fits and starts trying to get into the wireless business. They've come in, they've tried to be kind of an MVNO, and they've tried to market it in the same way they've marketed their monopoly cable service, mostly monopoly cable service. And it didn't work out as well for them, I think, as they had hoped. But they're a critical part of the ecosystem because these guys have the fiber in the ground or on the poles that can transport this data that the wireless networks are generating back to the internet at large. And they provide that connectivity, and the Wi-Fi hotspots that we're seeing rolled out by the cable Wi-Fi group, the Time Warner, Comcast, et cetera.
That's what I wanted you to bring up was the Time Warner, because I know they had deployed over 200 small cells as a test market space. Whether it works or doesn't work, now that the infrastructure is out there, what do they do with it? Can they offload it to somebody else?
Well, I think when you look at what they have deployed already, because there's hundreds of thousands of hotspots, you know, between these 5 MSOs that have been rolled out, and so they're playing and testing with all of this stuff. Okay, this is an important part of their market. People are watching their content, their entertainment, more and more on their mobile devices. These guys are aware of it. They're concerned about over-the-top threats, right? And everybody wants to be where the customer thinks of their service belonging, if that's even the right way to put it. They subscribe to Netflix, but you've got to have a pipe, okay?
Yeah.
You've got to have a pipe. If you subscribe to Hulu, you've got to have a pipe. And so that could be Time Warner, it could be Comcast in the cable space area, but you've got IPTV that's being rolled out by a lot of the landline guys that are trying to change their business models as people are cutting the landline cords. And the wireless guys, as LTE rolls out, particularly in the rural areas and the suburban areas where the concentration of people isn't so heavy and the demand on the spectrum isn't so heavy, this is going to become a solution available wirelessly here in the very near future, where a significant amount of content can be downloaded to a mobile device and leave, the other guys out in the cold. So everybody's got to figure out what their place is.
And so let's talk about some of the highlights then from Mosaik Solutions that you're providing back to all of these guys.
Well, some of the solutions that we offer, like cell maps, help our customers communicate that information as well as having it internally. This new dashboard that we're working on is going to allow people to provide or do a deeper dive into the analytics on what people are searching on, what's important to them, where are they thinking about going, and that's a big part of what's taking place today. Is what can you do with the data that's being generated out there? When you're talking about millions and millions of records and call records, what does that mean? You can't just look at it as a table. You've got to visualize this data for it to become meaningful. If you've got 100 million records, having 1,000 records of X doesn't mean nearly as much as having 100,000 records of Y. Okay? All right?
Yeah.
Are you having call drop issues? Are you having issues with just general connectivity, or low signal strength, and these types of things, data through rates. So as we want to visualize this, you've really got to put it on a map to see where your problems are. You can take an enormous number of records and you can create a visualization that can immediately tell the people, and not only the tactical levels of the company, but the strategic levels of the company, where they need to make new investments, okay, where they need to add infrastructure, or the markets where they're experiencing serious spectrum crunch.
So what are you doing here at the CCA? What are you announcing at that? And why is it important to be here?
Well, the CCA is a very important organization to us. We have belonged for 20 of the 21 years that it's been around. So we are some of the longest time members of the organization, and we very much believe in what they do. Look, we love the big operators too. They're our clients. We do a lot of work with them, but we do believe in the importance of a competitive market space. And very often the real innovation in an industry comes out of the smaller players. And that's where you're seeing that, and you see a higher concentration of smaller players here at this show than you'll see at probably any of the other shows. I mean, you can get, Barcelona's a great show. You can just get lost in there, right? But this is almost a family kind of atmosphere for us because we've been involved in it for so long. But every year there's new faces, there's new vendors, and there's new opportunities to talk to people.
So what are some of the, out of the time that you've been able to spend on the floor here, what is, let's say, one of the most exciting things that you've seen outside of what you're doing? Oh,
goodness. Well, you mentioned small cells a few minutes ago, and you'll see more and more people start to talking about that. These network guys are putting some pretty heavy concentration into it. And we see femtocells, picocells, and Wi-Fi really as eventually all being part of a larger solution to help with capacity concerns on the networks, right? And once this can all be integrated, and you get to voice over LTE, all these different pieces of the puzzle come together, and we're going to see a very different landscape in the next few years. The other thing that I think that's come out of this show that's really important is some news, frankly, about the 600 megahertz upcoming auction and the big win that CCA has had on the interoperability front. And so as you've got some of the bigger operators that are getting on board with trying to get away from all these band class issues in the 600 megahertz space, it's going to make it much easier for the regional and smaller operators to go in and compete in this auction and get the additional spectrum that they need to continue to grow their business and compete in their space.
So finally, what are we going to see from Mosaik here within the next 12 months?
Well, I can't talk about all of it, but a little bit of exciting stuff that I think is coming is giving people better visibility into the experiences that their individual consumers, individual subscribers are actually having on the network, both home and roaming. And I can't get too much deeper into it than that.
I think that's okay though, because I think the main point that I like to hear there was, if a company can get a better user experience for their end customer, that's driving ARPU. And at the end of the day, there's so much competition out there.
No doubt
If they're
about it.
not driving that ARPU up, whether it's in the home, whether it's from an M2M solution, from a coffee machine all the way down to the refrigerator or whatever, something even outside of the kitchen, but my point is that if they can drive that ARPU through the solutions that you're offering, that's what it's about.
Yeah, and I mentioned the growth that we've gone through in the last year and a half. The talent that we're onboarding right now, in some cases, is additional resources doing similar things, but in other cases, we're actually adding new talent, new spaces. We've been beefing up our software development crew substantially over the last year and a half to 2 years. And very proud of what they've done. You may remember we launched a mobile app back in the spring, and it was initially on Android, and it's come out now for iOS just a few weeks ago. So we've got some mobile application development coming.
I like that. Brian, always a pleasure to speak with you. Always great to have an update from Mosaik. I hope we get a chance for an update here in the near future.
Tony, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I've been speaking with Mosaik Solutions, Mr. Brian Darr, here at the CCA Convention in Las Vegas for 2013. I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV.